My name is
Ladies
Brian.
and gentlemen,
I'm
welcome to
32,
the most
and for the
insane
past
mega
7
ramp
years,
in
I've been the
GTA 5
unofficial
history.
safety net
I'm
for my
talking
entire
sky-high
family.
stunts,
Looking back
zero
now,
gravity
I can't
jumps,
believe
and
how blind I
crashes
was to
so
what was
wild.
really happening.
Buckle up, because
Whenever my
this
younger
ride's
brother
gonna be
Jason couldn't make
absolute
rent,
chaos.
I covered it. When Mom's car broke down, I paid for repairs. When Dad's consulting business had a slow month, I slipped him a few hundred just until the next client comes through. I never complained, not once. I told myself it was what a good son and older brother should do, and I could afford it. I have a decent tech job, live well below my means, and helping them never seemed like a big deal until last Sunday. We were all sitting in my parents' living room watching football. Mom, Dad, Jason, and me. One of those lazy Sunday afternoons where the house smelled like coffee and the game hummed in the background. Out of nowhere, Jason turned to me with this smug grin and said, "So, Brian, where's your wife and kids?" "Oh, right, you don't have any." Mom actually laughed. Dad chuckled under his breath. Jason leaned back like he'd just delivered the punchline of the year. I sat there stunned. Jason's always been the golden boy, younger, more charismatic, the one who somehow turns every bad decision into a charming anecdote. I've heard my share of digs from him over the years, but something about the way he said it this time, with that smug grin and everyone laughing along, hit differently. I forced a smile. Yeah, no kids. But inside, something snapped. I kept thinking about every time I'd bailed Jason out, every time I'd gone without a vacation so Mom and Dad wouldn't lose the house, every time I'd skipped something for myself so they could have what they needed. And here they were, laughing at me like I was some kind of joke. When the laughter died down, I turned to Jason and in the calmest voice I could manage said, "Where's your money? Because I've been supporting you until today." The room went dead silent. Jason's grin faltered. Mom's eyes widened. Dad leaned forward like he wasn't sure he'd heard me right. For a few seconds, you could have heard a pin drop. It was the first time I'd ever spoken to them like that. Not with anger, but with finality. Jason recovered first, leaning forward with that forced grin. "Wow, touchy much? It was just a joke, Brian." Mom gave a nervous laugh and patted my knee. "You know your brother? He's just teasing." I didn't answer right away. I just stared at Jason, feeling that hot pressure in my chest I'd been ignoring for years. "A joke," I finally said. "Right." Dad shifted in his chair. "Look, Brian, we appreciate what you do for this family, but there's no need to get dramatic. Jason's young. He's just having fun. You can't expect him to be as responsible as you." That line, "You can't expect him to be as responsible as you," was like gasoline on a fire. I'd heard variations of it my entire life. Jason wasn't held to the same standards I was. Jason didn't have to get straight A's. Jason didn't have to pay rent when he moved back home after dropping out of college. Jason didn't have to do anything but show up and flash that charming smile. And apparently, I was supposed to keep enabling it. I didn't argue. I just stood up, grabbed my jacket, and said, "I'll see you later." That night, I went home and pulled up my bank statements. Thousands, no, tens of thousands of dollars had gone to my family over the years. Rent for Jason, bills for my parents, emergencies that somehow never got paid back. Sitting there staring at the numbers, I realized I had made it way too easy for them. The next week was quiet, but not in a good way. I got texts from Mom. "You okay? Jason didn't mean it. You know how he is." I didn't reply. By Thursday, Dad called. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About the bills. The mortgage is due, and I know you usually cover the difference. You haven't sent anything this month." I felt that pressure in my chest again. "Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore." Silence. Then, "What do you mean you're not doing that anymore?" "I mean, I'm done paying for everything. I'm done being the backup plan. I'm done being laughed at while I bankroll everyone else's lives." "Brian, you can't just stop. Your mother and I rely on that money." "That's the problem. You shouldn't." He started to get angry. That low rumble he used when I was a kid, and he wanted me to know I'd crossed a line. You're being selfish. This family has always supported each other. I almost laughed. Has it? Because I don't remember anyone supporting me. I just remember being told I had to take care of everyone else. Dad hung up without another word. That weekend, I got summoned to Sunday dinner. When I walked in, the tension was like a wall of heat. Mom was setting the table with extra force. Dad sat at the head, arms crossed. Jason leaned against the counter, scrolling his phone like he didn't have a care in the world. Halfway through dinner, Mom finally spoke. "Brian, we can't keep going like this. Your father and I have bills. Jason has his student loans." I cut her off. "Jason dropped out of college." She blinked, surprised. "And you make more than enough to help out. You've always done it before." That was before I realized I'm the only one here actually trying to be an adult. Jason looked up, smirking. "Oh, so now you're better than us because you've got some money?" I turned to him, my voice sharp. "No, I'm better than you because I work for it. You sit around all day pretending you're figuring your life out while you burn through my paycheck?" Jason rolled his eyes. "Whatever. You're still single. Can't be that great of a life."
Bullshit.
That was the moment something inside me settled. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. Done explaining, done defending, done playing the role they'd written for me since I was a kid. I put my fork down and said very calmly, "I'm not paying for anything else. Not the mortgage, not Jason's rent, not the car insurance, nothing. If that means you lose the house, that's on you." Mom gasped. Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Don't talk like that in this house." I stood up. "Then maybe I shouldn't be in this house." I walked out, my heart pounding, but my head clearer than it had been in years. The calls started the next day. Mom, Dad, even Jason, all leaving voicemails about how I was tearing the family apart, how I was choosing money over them, how I didn't understand the pressure they were under. I listened to every single one, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. But I could feel it coming. The next step, when they tried to force me back into my old role. And when it came, I was ready. The voicemails kept coming all week. By Friday, I'd stopped listening to them. I'd go through my day with my phone on silent, see the missed calls piling up, and feel a strange mix of dread and relief. Sunday morning, I got a text from Mom. "We're coming over." My stomach sank. 20 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. Not a polite knock, but the kind that carries an unspoken message. "Open up." Mom was standing there with that tight smile she used when pretending everything was fine. Dad was right behind her, looking grim. Jason trailed in last, wearing a hoodie and looking like he'd just rolled out of bed. "Brian," Mom said, brushing past me into my apartment. "We need to talk." They all sat down like they owned the place. "We can't keep doing this," Dad said without preamble. "We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. The bank is calling. If you don't help us, we could lose the house." I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. "I told you, I'm done." Mom's face tightened. "You're being unreasonable. This is your family's home. You grew up there." "Yes, and I'm not going to bankrupt myself to keep it because no one else is willing to step up." Jason snorted. "You act like you're some saint. You make good money. It's not like you're hurting. Why not just do the right thing and help? Because it's not help anymore. It's expected. You all sit around waiting for me to save the day every time, and I'm done doing it." For a moment, no one said anything. Then Mom took a deep breath. "Fine. If you won't do it voluntarily, we've already taken care of it." I frowned. "What does that mean?" Dad reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder, setting it on my coffee table. "We went to the bank. We co-signed your name on a home equity line of credit. The funds are already transferred. The house is safe for now." My stomach turned to ice. "You what?" Mom rushed to explain. "We had to. They were going to start foreclosure proceedings. We didn't have a choice." "Yes, you did," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "You had every choice, and you chose to forge my signature." Jason spoke up, grinning. "Hey, look on the bright side. You didn't even have to lift a finger this time. It's like you're the hero without even trying? I stared at him. Do you even hear yourself? You just admitted to committing fraud with my name, and you think this is funny? Jason shrugged. It's just money, Brian. Relax. I grabbed the folder and flipped through it, hands shaking. There it was. My name, my information, my forged signature, all tied to a loan I hadn't agreed to. Tens of thousands of dollars that I would now be legally responsible for. You had no right, I said, my voice trembling. None. Dad's jaw tightened. We had every right. This is about keeping the family together. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions for the greater good. I laughed, a short, sharp, humorless sound. The greater good. That's what you're calling it. You stole from me. You used my credit, my name, to bail yourselves out again. And you didn't even ask. Mom's eyes welled with tears. We didn't want to put that kind of pressure on you. You've been so stressed lately. So instead, you just went behind my back. Jason leaned back on the couch, smirking. Honestly, you're overreacting. You've been carrying us for years. What's the difference if you do it one more time? And that was it. That was the moment something deep inside me went ice quiet. The kind of quiet that comes when you stop expecting anything to change and realize you have to be the one to change it. I closed the folder carefully, set it down, and looked at each of them in turn. Get out, I said. Mom blinked. What? You heard me. Get out of my apartment. Dad stood up, his face red. Don't talk to your mother like that. I said get out. They hesitated, but something in my expression must have told them I wasn't bluffing. After a moment, they all got up and left. Jason was the last one out, muttering, You're such a drama queen. I shut the door behind them and locked it. Then I sat on the couch, staring at the folder like it might burst into flames. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about trust they had shattered completely. And as I sat there in the quiet, I realized they weren't going to stop, not until I made them. After they left, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I got up and sat at my kitchen table with tea I didn't even drink. The apartment was so quiet it almost hurt. The next morning, I dragged myself to work barely functional. Every time my phone buzzed, my chest tightened. By Tuesday, the voicemails had shifted from pleading to guilt-tripping. Brian, this is your mother. I can't believe you threw us out like that. Your father hasn't slept in 2 days. Jason is stressed out. We did what we had to do. You'll understand when you have a family of your own. That one stung more than I expected. The implication that I wasn't a real adult because I didn't have a wife and kids. Wednesday, Jason texted, Stop acting like a victim. You're fine. Just pay it and move on. By Thursday, the pressure felt unbearable. My chest was tight, my head pounding, my stomach in knots. That weekend, I drove past my parents' house just to see if it was still there. The lights were on. Jason's car was in the driveway. Everything looked normal from the outside. I didn't stop. I just kept driving until I ended up at an empty overlook where you could see the whole valley. I sat there for a long time, engine off, watching the sun go down. That was my rock bottom. Sitting in the dark, alone in my car, realizing that the people I had sacrificed for had never really respected me. They saw me as a resource, not a person, a bank account with legs. I went home that night and made a decision. I wasn't going to fix this for them. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and started researching what to do if your identity is used without consent. I called my bank the next morning and spoke with their fraud department. The woman was sympathetic but blunt. It was complicated. Because my name and information were used, and because it was my parents who did it, this would involve police reports, legal filings, maybe even a court case. When I hung up, I sat there letting that sink in. If I went down this path, there would be no going back. My parents could get into serious legal trouble. Jason might finally face real consequences. The entire family would probably never forgive me. For a moment, I almost backed out. I almost convinced myself to just pay it off and keep the peace like I always had. But then I thought about Jason's smirk, about Dad's righteous anger, about Mom's tears. Not tears of apology, but tears of manipulation. And I thought about sitting in that car, staring at the valley, realizing how alone I was. No. They had made their choice. Now I was going to make mine. Meeting with the lawyer was the first step. Her name was Rachel, and she had the calm presence of someone who'd seen every kind of family drama. "Brian," she said, after going through the papers, "this is serious. What your parents did is criminal. Forgery, fraud, identity theft. You have every right to fight this." "I don't want to destroy them. I just want my name cleared. I want them to understand they can't do this to me anymore." Then we approach it strategically. We send a demand letter first, formally notify the bank that you didn't authorize this loan. It will trigger an investigation. That alone will put pressure on them. If they don't resolve it, we escalate legally. Hearing it laid out gave me a strange kind of clarity. For so long, I'd been reacting to them. Now, for the first time, I felt like I was ahead of them. When I left her office, the air felt different, lighter. That week, I threw myself into work like a man possessed. I finished projects that had been sitting on my desk, stayed late to help my team hit deadlines. By Friday, my manager called me into his office. "Brian, this is excellent work. I've noticed a real shift in you lately. Whatever's going on, keep it up." I walked out with a smile I hadn't worn in months. I started taking better care of myself too. I cleaned my apartment until it felt like a fresh start, stocked my fridge with real groceries, signed up for a gym membership I'd been putting off. Meanwhile, Rachel sent the demand letter. The bank acknowledged it within 2 days. The loan was flagged for investigation. "This is exactly the right step," the fraud department told me. "Once we verify the signature was forged, we can remove your liability." Hearing those words was like taking my first full breath in weeks. Mom called crying. "Brian, how could you do this? The bank called us. Do you know what you're putting us through?" "Yes, exactly what you put me through." She went quiet. Jason sent angry texts. "You're ruining everything. If the house gets taken, it's your fault." I didn't reply to a single one. Instead, I opened a separate savings account and started building it even faster. I updated my will and beneficiaries. I consulted a financial advisor. "Your situation isn't uncommon," the advisor said. "A lot of people with financially dependent families don't realize they need to shield themselves legally until it's too late. You're doing the right thing." As the weeks went by, things kept getting better. I got a raise at work. I started sleeping through the night. The tightness in my chest eased. One Friday evening, I found myself standing at my window looking out at the city lights, holding a glass of wine. For the first time, I didn't feel that crushing weight of responsibility. I felt free. But under that freedom, something else was building. Every voicemail, every passive-aggressive text, every attempt to make me feel guilty was fuel. And I wasn't just ignoring it anymore. I was collecting it. I started saving every message. Rachel told me to keep a record of everything. And I did. Not just because it was legally smart, but because each one reminded me why I was doing this. By the time the bank's fraud investigation really got underway, I had shifted into a different mindset entirely. One Thursday morning, I got an email from the bank confirming they'd sent documents to a forensic analyst. The words, "suspected forgery," were right there in black and white. I forwarded it to Rachel, who called immediately. "This is good. It means the bank is taking this seriously. Once the report comes back, we can move to have your name removed entirely." I thanked her and sat back, thinking. The old me might have felt guilty. The new me felt something closer to satisfaction. I started digging carefully, methodically. I checked county property records and found my parents' house wasn't just behind on the mortgage. They had a second lien from a personal loan I didn't even know about. Then I pulled Jason's name in public records, 3 unpaid traffic tickets, a delinquent credit card, and eviction filing from last year. I wasn't going to use any of this yet, but knowing it gave me leverage. My lawyer put me in touch with a financial investigator. I handed over everything, bank transfers, receipts, screenshots of every payment. When he sent me the report 2 weeks later, I just stared at it. In 7 years, I had given my family nearly $86,000. $86,000. Rachel called after reviewing it. This is powerful. If it comes to court, this paints a very clear picture of financial exploitation. I spent the next weeks preparing quietly. I kept excelling at work, earning a spot on a big project. I kept going to the gym, eating well, sleeping better, and at the same time, I built a dossier. I printed everything: the financial report, the bank's investigation emails, the property records, Jason's court filings. I put them all in a neat binder and kept it in my desk. It wasn't about waving it in their faces. It was about being ready. The calls from my parents slowed eventually. Mom left one rehearsed voicemail. "Brian, your father and I have decided to put the house on the market if things don't improve. We hope you understand we're under a lot of stress." Jason got more desperate. "Bro, please. I need help with rent. Landlord's threatening eviction. Just one more time." I didn't cave. By the end of the month, I felt like a different person. The anxiety that had eaten me alive was now clear, steady resolve. And I was done waiting for them to make the next move. The day I decided to act was quiet and sunny. I got up early, made coffee, and sat at my kitchen table going through the binder one last time. Rachel and I had refined the plan. We drafted a settlement letter demanding they refinance the house and remove my name within 30 days. If they refused, we'd escalate. The letter went out on a Monday, 3 pages long, clear and professional, outlining every unauthorized use of my information. At the end, failure to comply within 30 days will result in legal action, including a police report for forgery and fraud, as well as a civil claim for financial exploitation. The first call came from Mom 2 days later. "Brian, what is this? We just got your lawyer's letter." "It's not a letter from me. It's from my attorney. It outlines exactly what needs to happen next. You can't do this to us. Do you have any idea what it will do to your father? Do you have any idea what it's done to me?" Long pause. "We'll talk about this at dinner. Sunday. Please come." Sunday came and I arrived with my binder. The house felt smaller, shabbier. Mom and Dad were waiting at the kitchen table. Jason slouched off to the side. "Brian," Dad started, "this is ridiculous. You're threatening to drag your own family into court over money?" "No, over fraud. Over 7 years of being used like a personal ATM. Over the fact that you thought forging my name was acceptable." I opened the binder and slid the financial report across the table. "This is every payment I've made for you since I was 25, nearly $86,000. Mom's face went pale. I took out the forged loan documents next. "But this is where it stopped being help and started being theft." Then I looked at Jason. "And you think this is all some big joke? I've got every eviction filing with your name on it, every unpaid bill, every delinquent account." Jason's smirk faltered. I leaned back. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to refinance the house and remove my name from the loan within 30 days. You're never going to ask me for money again. If you do, I file this binder with the court and you can explain yourselves to a judge." Silence. Finally, Mom spoke, her voice small. "And if we can't refinance?" I met her eyes. "Then you lose the house, and that will be on you, not me." I stood, collected my binder, and walked to the door. "You have 30 days. Use them wisely." The 30 days that followed were unnervingly quiet. No calls, no texts, no guilt trips. 2 weeks in, Rachel called. The handwriting analysis came back. The signature was confirmed as a forgery. "You are officially cleared of any liability." That night, I poured wine and sat on my balcony, looking out over the city lights. The weight I'd carried for years had finally been lifted. 2 days later, Mom called and left a voicemail, her voice shaking. "The bank called. The loan is now solely in our names. We can't make the payments. Your father is talking about selling the house. I listened twice, then deleted it. By the fourth week, the house had been listed for sale. It went under contract fast. The following Sunday, Mom texted, "Dinner, one last time, please come." I hesitated before agreeing, not because they deserved it, but because I wanted to see this through to the end. When I arrived, the house was half empty. Boxes lined the hallway. The air felt final. "This is what you wanted, right?" Jason said. "House is gone. We're screwed." "No, this is what you chose. I gave you 30 days to fix this. You didn't." Mom sat down heavily. "We couldn't qualify for refinancing without you." I almost believed her. Maybe they had tried, but it didn't matter. The point was, they'd finally been forced to carry the weight themselves. Dad looked up from papers. "We'll have enough from the sale to pay off the debt. Barely. After that, we'll rent." I nodded. "Good. That's what responsible adults do. They live within their means." Jason snorted. "Easy for you to say. I had money because I worked for it, because I didn't blow it on vacations I couldn't afford or ignore my bills until someone else paid them." Jason looked away, his face red. Mom's voice was small. "So that's it. You're really cutting us off." "I'm not cutting you off. I'm stepping back. I'm not your safety net anymore. If you fall, you figure out how to get back up without calling me." I stood, looking around one last time. I used to think it was my job to keep this house standing, to keep all of you standing. But maybe losing it is what finally forces all of us to grow up. I walked to the door, then turned back. "This is the last time I'm coming here. If you want to be part of my next chapter, it has to be on different terms, equal terms." Driving away, I felt a strange mix of grief and relief. The house was gone, but so was the burden. When I got home, I put the binder in my desk drawer. Not as a threat, just as a reminder of where I'd been, what I'd survived, and what I'd finally walked away from. As I closed the drawer, I caught my reflection in the window. I was smiling.